Now, I want to try and tie this up. Moses and Aaron said, "Rise up and get you forth." Pharaoh said to Moses and Aaron, "Rise up and get you forth from among my people, both you and the children of Israel, and go serve the Lord, as you have said." See, but he only did this after the last plague, which was the plague of death. Death came into his house and killed his firstborn, and then after that he said, "Take your people and just get out of here." Then Moses gave the children of Israel God's command, and they did according to the word of Moses. But then Pharaoh had a change of heart, because the slaves that God wanted to use, that he produced and purified through the furnace of affliction, Pharaoh then felt threatened that they would one day supplant him. Come on, minister, come on. So he decided to kill them all. And he sent his army after Moses and the children of Israel. Now, what is the army that Pharaoh sent out to kill the children of Israel? And what is this army that the modern Pharaoh has sent out to kill the children of the former slaves? Since we are the fulfillment of the prophetic picture of the children of Israel, listen. What is Pharaoh's army? Is the Food and Drug Administration part of that army? Is the Center for Disease Control a part of the army? Are the pharmaceutical companies a part of the army? Is the American Medical Association a part of the army? Is the court system and the prison system part of that army? Is the closing of hospitals in the black community, is that a part of the plan? Is closing Grady Memorial, is that a part of the plan? Is the placement of black people near hazardous waste sites, is this part of the armed forces that have been let loose to kill the modern Moses and Aaron and to kill the modern children of Israel? Look at the death rates among black people. Look at the diseases that afflict us. Look at the government policies that promote this destruction of the black community. Is this an accident or is this on purpose?
Preach, minister, preach.
The army's behind us, but the Red Sea is in front of us.
In front of us.
And the Red Sea represents war, revolution, and bloodshed that is going on, and the only way we can get through to that promised land which God has promised is that there must be a parting of the Red Sea, that the righteous may go through safely. And this is where we are today. And this is why both the Bible and Quran suggest a plan of salvation for the righteous. Are you ready to come out? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, quote, "Integration is a hypocritical trick to make you think that your 400-year-old enemy has all of a sudden become your friend. He's given us many promises. All of them have proved false. So are we ready now to accept the promise of God?" Some of us are in a wilderness condition, murmuring against God because we came out from under Pharaoh but have not gotten where God wants us to go. So we're in the wilderness wondering whether we should go back and serve Pharaoh because it's too hard to think about building an independent nation. It's too hard to think about being free from our former slave masters and their children. We think it is too hard to build up an economy that will take care of the needs of our people. It's too hard. Let's go back and serve Pharaoh. So those who came out in the 60s, we used to say, "What time is it?" And we would cry back, "It's nation time." But we don't hear you anymore. You're in the wilderness now, murmuring against those who would desire to separate and build an independent existence. You're murmuring now against the voices that call for reparations. You're murmuring now because you've gone back to Pharaoh and you're comfortable with Pharaoh, but the masses of your people are not. We want out of this. How long will we continue to suffer in every generation, fighting the same people that our fathers fought, that our grandfathers fought, that our great-grandfathers fought, and now you're still willing to pass on to your children your cowardice because you still want a place with your former slave masters and their children? How long can we commit another generation to the slaughter of our open enemies? How long? Don't look at me like I've did something wrong. It's time for you scared to death Negroes to bite the dust. Our people must be free. In the book of Isaiah, it asks the question, shall the prey be taken from the mighty and the lawful captive delivered? This is the big question. God intends to take us from our former slave masters and their children, even if we don't want to go, because he's closing down every avenue by which any sustenance can come to your slave master. You should read what's going on with the dollar. You should read how China has over $1 trillion that she's losing money on, so she's transferring her dollars into euros. Singapore, Malaysia, Korea, if they start dumping the dollar, what are you gonna do when your dollar can't buy nothing anymore? You that worship the dollar as a god beside God. I'm about to land this plane. When America's founding fathers decided they had had enough of the tyranny of the King of England, they stood up and declared their independence and armed themselves in open rebellion. In 1776, they said, quote, when in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth that separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitled them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impelled them to the separation. So the founding fathers of what is called the United States of America demanded separation. They demanded separation from their tyrannical masters. They and their leaders had irreconcilable perceptions of justice that made coexistence with their former colonial master impossible. In their Declaration of Independence, they charged King George with harassing their people, putting a brutal army among them, with cutting off their trade with all parts of the world, with unfair taxation, with setting up unfair courts and jails and trumping up criminal charges, with causing death, desolation, and tyranny. They charged that the king had been deaf to the voice of justice. We can charge the government of the United States of America with all of these afflictions and then some today. The colonists, Thomas Jefferson included, that it was their right to actually abolish a destructive government and to institute a new one. But this is not what we are calling for today. We're not interested in abolishing your government. We're not interested in destroying your government. This is yours. You could have reformed it if you wanted to. You could have made us feel accepted if you wanted to. But we are interested now in setting up a government and coming out from under you. This is what we are interested in, because we know with the wisdom and intelligence that is among us, we can make a better government than what you have given us. Not only for us, but we can make a better government for the American people themselves. You can have your government. We'll have our own in a separate state or territory of our own. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, quote, "We want our people in America whose parents or grandparents were descendants from slaves to be allowed to establish a separate state or territory of our own, either on this continent or elsewhere. We believe that our former slave masters are obligated to provide such land, and that the area must be fertile and minerally rich. We believe that our former slave masters are obligated to maintain and supply our needs in this separate territory for the next 20 to 25 years until we are able to produce and supply our own needs." Wait a minute. Don't tell us you can't do that for us. We built your country. We fought, bled, and died in every war to keep you free. You've been taking care of Israel for nearly 60 years, and they have never done for you what we have done. So before you say this is unthinkable, let's look carefully at what the third president of the United States and the principal author of the Declaration of the Independence, Thomas Jefferson, wrote about the same issue. Thomas Jefferson said, quote, blacks should be colonized to such place as the circumstances of the time should render most proper, sending them out with arms, implements of household and of the handicraft arts, seeds, pairs of the useful domestic animals, etc., to declare them a free and independent people and extend to them our alliance and protection till they shall have acquired strength. That's what Thomas Jefferson said.
Yes, sir.
Well, it was President Abraham Lincoln, when faced with the political dilemma of slavery or saving the nation, who declared in the famous Lincoln-Douglas debates, quote, you and we are different races. We have between us a broader difference than exists between almost any other two races.
Come on, minister.
Whether it is right or wrong, I need not discuss. But this physical difference is a great disadvantage to us both, as I think your race suffer very greatly, many of them by living among us, while ours suffer from your presence. In a word, we suffer on each side. So if this be admitted, it affords a reason at least why we should be separated. It is better for both, therefore, to be separated. This is
Yes, sir.
Abraham Lincoln.
Quoted.
But the Negro leaders at that time like the Negro leaders of this time.
Yes, sir.
They didn't want to go nowhere.